Have you ever wondered why the loudest voices rarely achieve the deepest victories? The ones who constantly announce their goals, broadcast their every move, and seek endless validation often fade into silence when the results are due. But those who work quietly, who let their effort unfold behind closed doors, are the ones who shock the world when they finally step forward. Silence has always been misunderstood. People confuse it with weakness, but in reality, it is one of the greatest forms of strength. Because when you remove the noise, you remove the need to prove yourself, and what is left is pure focus, pure dedication, and pure power. Noise consumes energy. Every time you speak about what you will do, your mind feels a temporary satisfaction, as if the work is already done. This is why so many people talk, but so few actually finish. Science shows that when you share your goals publicly, your brain releases dopamine, giving you a false sense of achievement. You feel rewarded without having accomplished anything real. That is why talking about your dream can kill your dream. But silence protects you. Silence denies your brain that false reward and forces you to chase the real one, the one that only comes through sweat, repetition, and persistence. When you work in silence, you separate yourself from the crowd. The world doesn't see your effort, but that's exactly why it becomes stronger. Behind the scenes, without applause, without anyone watching, you are free to fail, to experiment, to fall and rise again. No one can judge your process, and no one can limit your potential. Every mistake becomes a lesson only you need to understand. Every victory, no matter how small, becomes fuel that belongs only to you. This is how legends are made, not by shouting their plans, but by forging them in secret until they are undeniable. Think about the peace that comes with not needing to prove anything to anyone. Imagine waking up with nothing to post, nothing to announce, and yet feeling the quiet fire inside you burning stronger every single day. That is the energy of silent work. It doesn't scream. It doesn't demand attention. It builds slowly, deeply, and unshakably. And when the time comes, when your results finally emerge, they will speak with a voice louder than words ever could. The greatest gift silence gives you is control. Control over your focus, control over your emotions, control over your journey. In silence, you are no longer a slave to the opinions of others. You stop performing for applause and start building for yourself. This shift is powerful because it takes your energy back from the world and places it fully into your hands. You are no longer chasing validation. You are chasing transformation. Stay with this message because it is not just about being quiet. It is about becoming unstoppable. It is about developing the kind of strength that doesn't need to be seen every day, the kind of strength that accumulates until it cannot be denied. If you embrace silence, if you commit to working without distraction, you will discover a version of yourself that the world has never seen before. And when that version steps into the light, no one will be able to ignore it. This is why working in silence is not weakness. It is power in its purest form. Noise is the enemy of progress. It distracts, it scatters, and it blinds you to the depth of your own potential. Every time you seek recognition before your work is ready, you give away pieces of your energy. You hand over control of your drive to opinions that were never meant to define you. And slowly, without even realizing it, your hunger fades. That is the hidden cost of chasing applause too soon. It kills momentum before it has a chance to grow into mastery. The truth is simple. Your brain is wired to crave validation. When people notice you, praise you, or admire you, a spark of pleasure floods your system. For a moment, it feels good. But what feels good is not always what is right. That dopamine high is dangerous because it tricks your mind into believing progress has been made. You feel accomplished without having done the real work. And once you taste that false reward, the urgency to push harder fades. You stop stretching yourself, stop going deeper, stop enduring the silence where real growth lives. This is why so many give up halfway. They talk so much about what they would become that the illusion of achievement replaced the hunger for actual achievement. They burned out on words instead of fueling themselves with action. That cycle of noise is deadly. It drains ambition, it delays progress, and it buries potential under layers of empty recognition. But when you resist that pull, when you choose silence instead, you break free from the trap. Silence protects your focus from the cheap high of validation. It keeps your energy locked in. It forces you to rely on progress you can measure, not applause you can hear. And the deeper psychology of this is powerful. When you stop looking outward for approval, your mind shifts inward. You begin to measure yourself against yourself. You no longer chase comparison, you chase improvement. Each day becomes about being sharper than yesterday, stronger than last week, more disciplined than last month. That is the true path of growth because it is built on substance, not show. And then another layer to this, silence creates mystery. When people don't know what you are doing, when they can't measure your progress, when they have nothing to judge or comment on, you become unpredictable. You become untouchable. The world can only see what you choose to reveal, and by the time they do, your results are undeniable. This psychological shift places you in control of the narrative. Instead of others shaping your story through opinions, you shape it with outcomes. Noise distracts, but silence sharpens. Noise scatters, but silence aligns. Noise weakens, but silence strengthens. Every moment you hold your work close, every hour you give to yourself without broadcasting it, you increase the gap between who you were and who you are becoming. That quiet gap is where transformation happens. That gap is where greatness is built. Resist the temptation to announce. Resist the urge to prove yourself through words. Protect your energy, protect your focus, and protect your dreams. Because when the world finally sees what you have been building, it will not be a whisper of potential. It will be a roar of reality, and that roar will be louder, stronger, and more unforgettable than any noise you could have ever made along the way. Discipline is the foundation of silent progress. Without discipline, silence becomes nothing more than inactivity. It is discipline that transforms quiet hours into powerful steps forward. Discipline is the decision to keep going when no one is watching, to keep showing up when no one applauds, to keep moving when no one believes. It is the invisible contract you make with yourself, a promise that you will not give up, no matter how long it takes or how heavy the weight feels. Discipline is not glamorous. It does not shine. It does not demand attention, and it does not seek recognition. It lives in the unseen choices. The choice to wake up earlier than you feel like, the choice to push through discomfort, the choice to honor your goals when excuses whisper louder than your will. Each of these choices may seem small, but stacked together, they create a force greater than talent, louder than motivation, stronger than luck. Psychology proves that discipline rewires the brain. Every time you repeat an action, you strengthen the neural pathway that supports it. Over time, your mind becomes programmed to choose consistency over chaos, effort over ease, growth over comfort. This is how habits are built, not through fleeting motivation, but through relentless repetition. And when discipline takes root, it no longer feels like effort. It becomes identity. You no longer say, I will try. You say, this is who I am. This is why silent workers rise above. They are not moved by moods, they are moved by commitments. They understand that consistency is more powerful than intensity. Anyone can give their best for a day, but discipline is giving your best every day, even when the fire inside feels dim. It is a choice to act without waiting for inspiration, to build without waiting for permission, to move without waiting for applause. That is the strength that silence teaches, the strength of being driven by purpose, not noise. And there is something deeply liberating in this. When you anchor yourself in discipline, you no longer depend on motivation to carry you forward. Motivation is fleeting. It rises with emotion and falls with resistance. Discipline is steady. It does not care how you feel in the moment. It demands action regardless of mood. And every time you choose discipline over distraction, you take back control of your future. You prove to yourself that you are stronger than your excuses. The reward of discipline is freedom. Freedom from regret. Freedom from inconsistency. Freedom from the cycle of starting and quitting. With discipline, you are no longer at the mercy of fleeting feeling. You are guided by a deeper compass. Every quiet act of discipline compounds. Every repetition builds strength you cannot yet see. Every moment of resistance you overcome hardens you for the challenges ahead. This is the secret of silent progress. It is not built on grand gestures or loud declarations. It is built on steady discipline, day after day, choice after choice. The world may not see your sacrifices now. They may not notice your effort today, but every disciplined action you take moves you closer to a future where your results speak with undeniable power. Silence protects you, but discipline elevates you. Together, they create a foundation so unshakable that no distraction, no doubt, and no voice of criticism can bring it down. Focus is the force that multiplies discipline into greatness. Without focus, discipline scatters its energy across too many directions, and progress becomes diluted. But when you channel all of your effort into one clear target, the results are exponential. Focus is not simply about attention, it is about depth. It is about giving your full presence to the task at hand, blocking out distractions, and sinking so deeply into your work that the outside world ceases to exist. That state of immersion is where transformation is born. Psychologists call this state flow, a mental zone where time disappears and performance reaches its peak. In flow, your brain releases chemicals that sharpen learning, increase creativity, and accelerate growth. Every hour spent in this state is worth 10% spent in distraction. This is why silence matters so much. It clears the noise so focus can dominate. Without silence, flow is nearly impossible. With silence, it becomes your natural rhythm. Focus demands sacrifice. It requires you to say no to countless temptations that compete for your attention. It forces you to choose between instant pleasure and long-term mastery. Every distraction avoided is not just a moment saved. It is a piece of your future protected. The average person loses hours every day to noise, to meaningless scrolling, to empty conversations, to chasing the appearance of progress rather than building the reality of it. But when you guard your focus, you separate yourself from that cycle. You claim back the hours, the energy, and the clarity that others waste. The science of mastery is simple but ruthless. The brain changes itself through repetition and deep engagement. Every time you focus intensely, you carve deeper grooves into your neural pathways. These grooves are what transform effort into skill and skill into excellence. Shallow effort cannot do this. Scattered attention cannot do this. Only deep, consistent focus has the power to rewire your brain for greatness. And there is a deeper emotional truth behind focus. When you give yourself fully to your work, you feel a sense of alignment that nothing else can provide. You stop feeling torn between who you are and who you want to become. You stop living in fragments and start living as a whole. Focus unites your energy, your purpose, and your actions. It gives you peace because it eliminates the chaos of trying to be everywhere, do everything, and please everyone. Every moment spent in true focus is an act of self-respect. It is a declaration that your future matters more than distraction, that your growth matters more than comfort, and that your dream matters more than noise. This is not about perfection. It is about direction. Focus ensures that every step you take, no matter how small, pushes you forward instead of sideways. Silence opens the door. Discipline keeps you walking, but focus determines how far and how fast you move. Without it, your potential leaks away into meaningless tasks. With it, you create momentum that compounds, a force that becomes unstoppable. Protect your focus with the same intensity you protect your dream, because in truth, they are the same. Every second you waste weakens your future. Every second you focus strengthens it. Choose strength. Choose silence. Choose the deep work that few are willing to commit to, and your results will stand so far above the noise that no one will ever doubt the power of your path. The craving for applause is one of the most subtle traps on the path to greatness. It disguises itself as encouragement, but beneath the surface, it weakens your drive. Every time you hunger for recognition, you place your progress in the hands of others. You become dependent on their approval, their validation, their acknowledgement. And when that approval doesn't come, your motivation collapses. This is why so many never reach their full potential. They build their journey on applause instead of purpose. The deepest truth is this: real confidence is not built in the spotlight. It is built in the shadows. It grows strongest when no one is watching, when no one is praising, when no one even notices. Because in those moments, the only fuel you have is belief. Not belief in what others say you can do, but belief in what you know you can become. And when belief fuels you, nothing can stop you. Psychology shows that external validation creates a fragile sense of self-worth. It makes you dependent on constant reinforcement, like a flame that can only burn if someone else provides the spark. But intrinsic motivation, the drive that comes from within, creates a fire that sustains itself. That kind of fire doesn't fade when others stay silent. It doesn't break when others criticize. It doesn't stop when others doubt. It keeps burning because its source is internal, untouchable, and unshakable. Every time you resist the need for applause, you strengthen your inner power. You prove to yourself that your effort is enough, your consistency is enough, your dream is enough. You stop performing and start building. You stop chasing recognition and start chasing mastery. This shift is where transformation begins because you no longer depend on the unstable opinions of others to define your worth. You define it yourself through action. There is freedom in this mindset. Freedom from comparison, freedom from disappointment, freedom from the exhausting chase for approval. When you detach from applause, you also detach from criticism. The same voices that once could lift or break you no longer hold that power. You rise above both praise and doubt, anchored only by your mission. That is the mental strength that silence creates. And when you live this way, your progress accelerates. No longer distracted by how others respond, you have more energy to invest in the work itself. No longer slowed by the highs and lows of external opinions, you move forward with steady determination. Every day becomes about the process, not the recognition. Every step becomes about becoming better, not being seen. And that kind of consistency is what eventually leads to greatness. The irony is powerful. The less you chase applause, the more your results eventually earn it. But by then, you no longer need it. By then, you have already proven to yourself that you are enough. The applause becomes noise, not necessity. It becomes an after effect, not a fuel. That is the reward of resisting the need for recognition. You discover a strength within you that no one else can give and no one else can take away. Stop waiting to be noticed. Stop craving to be seen. Build in silence. Believe in silence. Thrive in silence. Because the work you do without applause is the work that will one day echo louder than any cheer ever could. Growth is invisible before it becomes undeniable. This is the hardest truth for most to accept. We live in a world that glorifies instant results, a culture addicted to speed, yet real progress does not reveal itself overnight. The most powerful transformations begin beneath the surface, in silence, where no one can see them. Just like seeds take root underground before they ever break the soil, your work is shaping you long before anyone notices the change. This is where most people quit during the invisible phase. They believe that because they cannot yet see results, nothing is happening. But growth is not always visible. Growth is the quiet rewiring of your mind, the strengthening of your habits, the sharpening of your discipline. It is the countless repetitions that seem small but are building something massive. The invisible phase is where the foundations of greatness are laid, and it is those who endure it who ultimately rise above the rest. Psychology teaches us that the brain thrives on progress, but progress is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is so subtle that you only notice it months later. Each day of practice builds new connections, strengthens pathways, and sharpens skills. You may not feel the change in the moment, but it is happening. This is why patience is not weakness. It is power. To stay committed when results are hidden requires strength that most never develop. It is proof that your belief is stronger than your doubt. Every invisible effort compounds. Every silent hour of practice, every unnoticed act of discipline, every quiet sacrifice adds weight to the scales of your future. And when the tipping point comes, when the invisible finally becomes visible, the world will call it sudden success. But you will know the truth. You will know the long, hidden battle that built it. You will know the silent victories that no one clapped for, but that changed everything. There is beauty in the invisible phase if you choose to see it. It strips away the need for performance. It teaches you to work for the sake of growth itself, not for recognition. It forces you to trust the process, to value consistency, and to develop the patience that will serve you for life. And in this way, the invisible phase does more than build results. It builds character. Understand this. The invisible phase is not a punishment. It is preparation. It is where resilience is forged, where grit is hardened, where faith in your path becomes unshakable. If growth was immediate, everyone would achieve it, and it would mean nothing. But because it is hidden, because it is difficult, because it requires perseverance, it becomes the dividing line between those who dream and those who do. Do not despise the invisible stage. Embrace it. Every day, that you work without visible proof is a day that strengthens your future. Every moment of silence is a moment where you are becoming something greater, even if you cannot yet see it. Stay in the process, trust the unseen. Because one day, everything that is now hidden will stand tall for the world to see, and the strength you built in silence will make that moment unforgettable. Inner strength is born in silence. It is built in the moments when no one is watching, when no one is praising, when no one even knows what you are going through. In those moments, it is only you and your will. That is where resilience is forged, where mental toughness grows, where you learn to rely on yourself completely. The greatest battles are not fought in public. They are fought in your own mind, in the quiet hours when giving up feels easier than continuing. Psychologists call this grit, the ability to stay committed to a long-term goal despite hardship, failure, and delay. Grit is not talent. Grit is not luck. Grit is persistence fueled by passion. It is the decision to keep moving when everything inside you screams to stop. It is the inner voice that says, "Not yet, I'm not finished." And that voice becomes louder, stronger, and clearer the more you choose silence over noise, persistence over quitting, progress over excuses. When you work in silence, you are not only building skills, you are building yourself. Every repetition in silence strengthens not just your ability, but your identity. You stop being someone who tries and start becoming someone who endures. You stop being someone who hopes and start becoming someone who executes. This is the transformation that no applause can give you. It is the pride of knowing that you can carry yourself through storms without needing anyone to pull you forward. The science of resilience shows that people who embrace struggle rather than avoid it develop higher levels of confidence, adaptability, and emotional strength. Every obstacle you face in silence becomes a weight that builds your mental muscles. Every challenge you endure without recognition makes you more unshakable. Slowly, you begin to realize that you don't need circumstances to be easy. You don't need life to cooperate. You only need your own commitment. That realization is freedom. The more you cultivate inner strength, the less fragile you become. You no longer collapse when others doubt you. You no longer lose yourself when results are delayed. You no longer shatter when progress feels slow. Because you know that strength is not measured by comfort, it is measured by endurance. And endurance is built in silence, far from the eyes of others, where the only thing that matters is your refusal to quit. There is a quiet pride that comes with this strength, a pride that does not need to be displayed because it is felt, a pride that grows from the knowledge that you are dependable to yourself, that when everything else fails, you will not, that when the path is difficult, you will walk it anyway. This is the kind of strength that cannot be taken from you because it is rooted in discipline, focus, and resilience, all born in silence. Choose to embrace that silence. Do not run from it. Let it harden you, sharpen you, and shape you into someone unbreakable. Because once you have built inner strength, no setback can defeat you, no critic can distract you, and no storm can stop you. You will stand firm not because the world believes in you, but because you have learned to believe in yourself at a level so deep that nothing can shake it. That is the strength that silence gives. Silence is not emptiness. It is strength waiting to be directed. When you remove the noise of opinions, distractions, and unnecessary words, you create space for power to grow. That power is not loud. It does not beg to be noticed. It does not demand recognition. It builds quietly, layer upon layer, until it becomes unshakable. The less you reveal, the more you control. The less you speak, the more you sharpen. And the less you need to prove, the more unstoppable you become. Silence becomes a shield. It protects your focus from the interference of doubt. It shields your ambition from the weight of unnecessary criticism. It keeps your progress safe from the influence of envy and the judgment of those who cannot see your vision. When you work in silence, you deny others the ability to interfere with your growth. You move beyond the reach of negativity and you create a fortress around your dreams. In this way, silence is not weakness, it is protection. And within that protection, your potential has the freedom to expand without resistance. The psychology of noise shows that constant exposure to external input drains mental energy. Every comment, every opinion, every distraction takes a piece of your focus. But silence does the opposite. It restores, it strengthens, it amplifies. It allows your mind to channel energy fully into creation instead of wasting it on defense. This is why those who master silence often move faster and further than those who cannot bear to disconnect, because every ounce of their energy is invested in building, not explaining. And there is something deeply powerful about withholding. When people cannot predict your next move, when they do not know what you are working on, when they are left in the dark about your progress, you gain leverage. You carry a presence that does not need noise because your results will speak at the right time. This mystery creates a psychological edge. People underestimate you because they cannot measure you, and that is when your silence turns into your greatest weapon. But the true transformation of silence is internal. It is not only about keeping others out, it is about keeping yourself steady. In silence, you hear your own thoughts more clearly. You cut through the chaos of outside voices and reconnect with your own conviction. You no longer depend on reminders of why you started. You remember it naturally because the stillness keeps your purpose alive. This inner clarity is rare in a world filled with constant noise. It is the kind of clarity that makes you resilient, focused, and unshakable. When silence becomes power, you are no longer threatened by doubt, rejection, or misunderstanding. You are no longer shaken when others fail to notice you. You are no longer pulled off course by the noise of the crowd. Instead, you carry yourself with a quiet intensity, a steady confidence that cannot be bought, taught, or borrowed. And when your results finally appear, they will not just speak for you. They will echo louder than any words could. Let silence be your foundation. Let it guard your focus, amplify your energy, and sharpen your path. Because once you master silence, you no longer need to chase power. Power begins to radiate from within you. It becomes undeniable, untouchable, and unstoppable. That is when silence stops being the absence of noise and becomes the presence of strength. The greatest transformations happen long before the world notices. They are forged in private, in silence, in the relentless grind that no one claps for and no one sees. The person you are becoming is not shaped by the moment of recognition. It is shaped by the countless hours of preparation that preceded. Character is carved in solitude. Discipline is built in repetition. Strength is born in resistance. All of it happens beneath the surface, invisible to the outside world, but undeniable within you. This is why silent work is so powerful. It does not just change what you can do. It changes who you are. Every quiet decision to keep going when no one cares sharpens your identity. Every sacrifice that no one acknowledges builds a core of self-respect that cannot be broken. Slowly, you stop depending on external proof of your worth. You start carrying proof within yourself in the form of resilience, confidence, and unshakable belief. Psychology shows that habits shape identity. What you repeatedly do becomes who you are. In silence, this truth becomes even more powerful. With no spotlight, no performance, no external judgment, your actions are pure. They are chosen not for appearance, but for progress. And in choosing progress over performance, you slowly transform into someone unstoppable. The invisible journey becomes the most important part of all, because it is there that you develop the character required to sustain success when it finally arrives. The world often misunderstands this phase. They do not see the effort, so they assume nothing is happening. They do not witness the transformation, so they assume you are standing still. But you know better. You know that every drop of sweat, every ounce of effort, every hour of persistence is rewiring your future. You know that the silence is not empty. It is full of growth. And one day, the same people who dismissed your quiet work will be stunned by the strength you reveal. There is also a deeper freedom in this invisible transformation. When no one is watching, you are free to fail, to stumble, to learn without judgment. Failure becomes a lesson, not a performance. Mistakes become stepping stones, not embarrassments. In silence, you are free to grow without fear, and that freedom accelerates your progress. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be consistent. That consistency is what creates transformation so profound that nothing can erase it. The invisible phase is not about waiting for the future. It is about building it. Each unseen action is an investment. Each unseen effort is a deposit. Each unseen choice is a seed. And though no one else sees it now, the roots are growing deeper, stronger, unshakable. By the time the growth breaks through the surface, it will be undeniable because it has been prepared in silence, hardened in silence, and strengthened in silence. This is the power of working unseen. It is not about hiding. It is about preparing. It is not about withholding. It is about strengthening. The transformation that happens in silence is the one that makes every visible result possible. And when you finally step forward, it will not be a surprise to you. It will be the inevitable outcome of everything you built when no one was watching. Silence is not weakness. It is not emptiness. It is the space where the strongest foundations are built. The noise of the world constantly pulls at your attention, demanding proof, demanding speed, demanding recognition. But the greatest power is found in resisting that pull and turning inward and pouring your energy into work that needs no applause to validate its worth. When you choose silence, you reclaim your focus. You stop scattering your energy in 1,000 directions and begin channeling it into one, becoming the strongest version of yourself. Every time you resist the urge to announce, you grow stronger. Every time you hold back from seeking approval, you sharpen your edge. Every time you choose action over attention, you harden the core of your discipline. The psychology is clear. Delayed gratification builds resilience. Those who can hold off the rush of external praise are the ones who can endure the long, grueling journey to real greatness. When you work in silence, you are not denying yourself. You are training yourself. You are proving that you can handle the weight of patience, the discomfort of invisibility, the trial of consistency without reward. This is not easy. The human brain craves validation. It wants likes, applause, recognition. It wants proof that effort matters. But here lies the test. Can you create proof within yourself before the world ever sees it? Can you trust your own progress even when no one else believes in it? This ability is rare, but it is the essence of greatness. Because when you no longer need outside confirmation, you become free. Free to work at your own pace. Free to set your own standards. Free to rise without distraction. Silence teaches you that the process is a reward. The sweat itself is proof. The late nights, the early mornings, the quiet repetitions that no one witnesses, all of it is evidence of who you are becoming. While others chase shallow recognition, you are stacking invisible victories that compound into unstoppable momentum. And when momentum finally breaks through, it will look effortless to those who only see the results. But you will know it was built in the silence they ignored. The silence also protects your dreams. Speaking too soon exposes them to judgment, doubt, and resistance. But when you protect your vision, when you guard it within the walls of your own effort, it grows stronger, sharper, unshakable. By the time the world sees it, it will not be fragile. It will be undeniable. This is why silence is not just about humility, but about strategy. You are building something too important to be weakened by noise. So hold the silence with pride. Let it sharpen you. Let it strip away the need for approval. Let it teach you to love the grind for its own sake. Every quiet step is proof that you are moving forward, even if no one else notices. Every unseen effort is proof that your vision matters, even if no one else believes. And one day, when your silence finally speaks, the world will realize it was never silence at all. It was preparation. It was discipline. It was greatness in the making. The discipline to work in silence is the discipline to rise above distraction. Every distraction tempts you with immediate comfort, but every distraction also steals from the future you are trying to build. The world wants you to prove yourself at every step, to explain your moves, to justify your grind. But true focus requires shutting all of that out and trusting the path you are walking. When you no longer feel the urge to prove, you conserve all of your energy for progress. That is the strength silence gives you, the ability to move without wasting your spirit on noise. Your silence becomes a shield. It protects your focus from doubt, from criticism, from unnecessary comparison. When no one knows the full extent of your effort, no one can weaken it with their disbelief. What is hidden cannot be attacked. What is quiet cannot be interrupted. The mind works best when it is free from pressure to perform, and silence removes that pressure. It allows you to work for growth, not for praise. It allows you to shape yourself without interference. Psychology confirms that focus thrives in solitude. When the brain is free from constant evaluation, it moves deeper into flow, that state where work feels both intense and effortless. In flow, time disappears, distractions fade, and your potential expands. This is the gift silence gives, the ability to find flow without being pulled apart by the world's noise. And when you learn to access this state repeatedly, your progress accelerates far beyond what attention-seeking could ever achieve. The silence also keeps you honest. Without an audience, there is no performance. Without applause, there is no need for shortcuts. In silence, it is just you and the work. And that purity forces you to face the truth about your effort. Are you truly committed, or are you pretending? Silence answers that question with brutal honesty. If you keep going with no one watching, then your drive is real. If you push forward with no recognition, then your purpose is true. Every repetition in silence builds integrity. Integrity is the alignment between what you say you want and what you actually do. Most people claim big dreams, but live small habits. Silence is where you close that gap, where you prove through consistent action that your words carry weight. With every private victory, you harden the link between intention and execution until it becomes unbreakable. That alignment is what creates confidence so deep that no doubt can touch it. This is why silence is not emptiness, it is clarity. It strips away the noise and forces you to find who you really are. It gives you the space to choose discipline over distraction, resilience over recognition, authenticity over appearance. And when you choose these things consistently, you are not just building skills, you are building a self that does not crumble under pressure, a self that does not need the world's approval, a self that can stand in any storm. So do not underestimate the silence. Do not rush to fill it. Do not run from it. Embrace it. Because in that silence, you are not invisible. You are becoming. You are not unseen. You are unstoppable in the making. The silence is not the absence of progress. The silence is the birthplace of power. Greatness is not built in the spotlight. It is built in the shadows. The spotlight only reveals what has already been created, but it does not create. What builds you is the relentless work that no one notices, the choices that go unseen, the battles you fight with yourself when no one else is there to witness them. That is where strength is forged. That is where discipline takes root. That is where the foundation of unshakable success is laid. When you devote yourself to silent work, you separate yourself from the noise that traps most people. The majority seek attention more than growth, validation more than discipline, recognition more than results. But the truth is, the world's praise cannot carry you when the journey becomes hard. Only the habits you build in silence will. The habits of patience, consistency, and focus will be the anchors that hold you steady when everything else feels uncertain. Silence also trains you to detach from ego. Ego wants to announce, to prove, to broadcast every step. But when you silence the ego, you step into humility. Humility is the soil where mastery grows. It allows you to remain a student, to stay hungry, to learn and adapt instead of pretending to already have all the answers. And in that humility, you sharpen your edge. You become dangerous because you are too busy improving to be distracted by the temptation of applause. The psychology is undeniable. What is repeated in private becomes expressed in public. If you repeat distraction, weakness shows. If you repeat excuses, failure shows. But if you repeat discipline, resilience shows. If you repeat consistency, mastery shows. Every day of silent repetition writes the story of who you are becoming, and eventually that story cannot stay hidden. It will show in your posture, in your results, in your energy, in the way you carry yourself. The world will recognize it, but by then, it will be too late for them to deny it. This is why working hard in silence is not about hiding. It is about building a version of yourself so real that it does not need to be announced. It is about cultivating a depth of strength that cannot be faked, a confidence that cannot be borrowed, a success that cannot be questioned. When you stay silent, you rob the world of the chance to doubt you before you are ready. You protect your vision until it is strong enough to stand on its own. There is a certain power in being underestimated. Silence makes this possible. When no one knows what you are building, they cannot measure your growth. They cannot predict your rise. They cannot prepare for the impact you are about to make. And when you finally reveal it, the effect is unstoppable. It is not sudden. It is the result of everything you build patiently, privately, persistently. So stay committed to the silence. Stay committed to the unseen grind. Every day you hold that discipline, you are sharpening your future. Every action you repeat without recognition is fuel for the fire you are building inside. And when the time comes, that fire will burn so bright, it cannot be ignored. Silence is not weakness. Silence is your greatest weapon. Silence demands patience, and patience is the gatekeeper of all lasting success. The world has been conditioned to expect speed, to chase shortcuts, to crave instant gratification. But nothing truly valuable is born in a rush. A tree does not reach the sky overnight. A body does not grow strong in a single workout. A mind does not sharpen in a single moment of focus. True growth requires time, and silence is where you give yourself that time without interference, without pressure, without the need to impress anyone else. Patience is not passive. It is active endurance. It is the strength to keep showing up when results are invisible. It is the decision to keep working even when progress feels slow. The human brain is wired to seek quick rewards, but those who master patience override that instinct. They train themselves to trust the process, to value effort as much as outcome, to keep pushing forward even when there is nothing external to confirm that their sacrifices are paying off. This psychological resilience is what separates those who achieve temporary wins from those who achieve greatness that lasts. The silence becomes your training ground for patience. With no recognition to rush toward, you learn to find joy in the process itself. You begin to measure progress not by the approval of others, but by your own consistency, your own discipline, your own inner growth. Slowly, your relationship with time changes. You stop looking for fast results and start investing in permanent ones. You stop chasing the quick spark and start building the unshakable flame. Patience also protects you from the trap of comparison. When you are working quietly, you stop measuring yourself against the noise of others. You realize that every journey has its own pace, its own rhythm, its own timeline. Comparison steals joy, but patience restores it. With patience, you understand that your path is unfolding exactly as it should, and no one else's progress can take away from your own. You free yourself from the toxic cycle of rushing to keep up with others and instead embrace the steady rhythm of your own growth. And there is another power in patience, the power of compounding. Every small effort, repeated consistently, multiplies. Each repetition may look insignificant on its own, but together, they build something extraordinary. Patience allows you to keep stacking these small wins until they explode into massive transformation. The same way water shapes stone not by force but by persistence, your silent, patient effort will shape your life into something unrecognizable. So embrace the patience that silence requires. Do not fear the slow days. Do not resent the unseen hours. Every second you spend investing in your vision is carving out a future you cannot yet see. Every moment you resist the urge to rush is proof of your strength. Patience is not delay, it is preparation. It is the universe testing whether you can carry the weight of what you are asking for. And when you prove yourself through patience, what you are building in silence becomes unstoppable. The silence is not wasted time. It is sacred time. It is the slow, deliberate process of becoming. And the more patient you are in the silence, the louder your success will one day echo. Silence refines your focus in a way that noise never can. Noise scatters energy. It pulls your attention toward opinions, distractions, and meaningless validation. But silence gathers that energy, concentrates it, and directs it toward what truly matters. When you remove the demand to explain yourself, you free up all of your mental strength to execute. That is when your work becomes sharper. That is when your progress accelerates. Focus is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters with intensity. And silence is the environment that makes this possible. Every moment spent in silence is a declaration that your attention belongs to your vision, not to the chaos around you. The human mind is wired to follow stimulation, to chase novelty, to be pulled apart by constant alerts and demands. But those who achieve greatness retrain the mind. They condition it to stay locked on one pursuit with an unbreakable grip. The science of attention shows that every time you resist distraction, you strengthen neural pathways that make focus easier the next time. Silence gives you the space to practice this. It rewires your brain for depth, for clarity, for power. And when you achieve this kind of focus, you begin to notice something profound. Progress compounds faster than you imagine. What once took hours now takes minutes. What once drained you now energizes you. You move from scattered effort to deliberate practice, and deliberate practice is where mastery lives. It is where the gap between mediocrity and excellence is closed. Most people never reach this state because they are too busy proving instead of improving. But you are different. You are committed to the silence that sharpens, the silence that disciplines, the silence that turns effort into excellence. Silence also strips away the illusion of multitasking. It forces you to face the truth that greatness is built by going all in, not by spreading yourself thin. The world praises being busy, but busyness is not the same as progress. True progress comes from immersion, total commitment to the task at hand repeated with consistency. And immersion requires silence. It requires the ability to shut out everything that does not serve your purpose and pour yourself entirely into the work before you. The focus born in silence becomes your secret weapon. While others are distracted by attention, you are sharpening your craft. While others are loud about their intentions, you are silent about your execution. And while they burn out chasing recognition, you build momentum that no one can stop. Eventually, the gap becomes undeniable. Their noise fades, your results rise, and the difference is not luck, it is focus. So guard your silence. Protect it like your greatest treasure. Every hour of undistracted effort is a step closer to mastery. Every day of focused execution is proof that you are not ordinary. You are not here to waste your energy on noise. You are here to build something real. And the more you discipline your focus in the silence, the louder your results will be when the world finally sees them.